All right, I am back after 2.5 years of not on YouTube. Super excited to be back.
A lot's changed since then, but especially I am now super into running marathons. So excited about it. I've ran 5 marathons now, including a recent 309 marathon in Chicago in October of 2023. And super excited to share with you my experience from marathon running. In my early 20s, I'm 25 years old. I ran my first marathon when I was 20 years old back in 2019. And excited to share what I've learned on this channel. But specifically for today, I wanted to walk you through how I set my 2024 marathon goals and the process of how I set the time that I wanted to get, as well as finding out which specific race to run, because there really is so many options. First, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me overall. So I live here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I started out mainly as a lifter with my fitness journey. I played baseball growing up, I played tennis, got into lifting, and didn't start running at all until that marathon that I ran in 2019 in Nashville. Also about me is I work a corporate job. So I'm not a running influencer or some sort of influencer where I get to spend all day just training. For me, I work a corporate 9-to-5 job in sales, and so a lot of my time during the week is toward that. And I've spent a lot of time running, but I'm excited to also capture the running I'm doing and share that even with a corporate 9-to-5 job that can be time consuming and can be stressful, wanted to share my tips for being able to shave almost a full hour off my marathon time. So I ran a 4:01 in Nashville in 2019. And like I said, I just ran a 3:09 in Chicago in October of 2023. So excited to walk you through what these 2024 goals look like and hopefully serve as a little bit of inspiration as you set your goals for your own marathon in 2024, whether it's your first marathon or you're looking to BQ or run your 20th marathon. Excited to share this process with you. All right, so this is obvious, but my biggest advice with figuring out your 2024 marathon goals is assessing your running history. So how much have you ran in the past, and especially in the recent past? So are you coming off of injury? Have you never ran before? Are you coming off some good training blocks? And that can help you start to figure out what is that goal time that I'm shooting for in this upcoming marathon, and focusing one race at a time. So thinking about what's the very next race that I want to run. And for me, just a little bit more about my marathon history and the 5 marathons I've ran. So my first one was Nashville 2019. At the time, I was a lifter, didn't know anything about running, did not train properly, wanted to break 4 hours, and got 4 hours and 1 minute. So did not accomplish my goal time, which even then I was just really excited to finish. But then, unfortunately for me, about a year and a half later, I read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, and that made me realize that I was being a little bitch. Because during the Nashville race, it was so hard, probably because I didn't train right, but it was so hard that I promised myself that I would never run another marathon again. But when I read the book, I was like, man, I'm capable of so much more. I know I can break 4 hours, and that inspired me to run my second marathon. And sure enough, I set over a 20-minute PR. I trained the right way, put in a lot more work and effort, and marathoning became so fun to me. I started to really enjoy it. I realized that 20-minute PRs are possible. So I kept that up, trained a ton more, signed up for Buffalo the very following spring. So just a couple months later, and unfortunately for the first time in my running career, I got injured, and that freaking sucked. So I still ran Buffalo. I actually got a PR of about 1 minute. I ran like a 3:40, but it was a really bad experience getting injured. I took some time off and then signed up for the Bayshore Marathon in Traverse City, Michigan. I knew that was a flat and fast course, and I signed up for that in the spring of 2022. And that race actually went really well. I had almost another 20-minute PR because, again, I figured out my training, I was smart about it, I didn't get injured, and I got my mileage up. So in that race, I ran a 3:23, showing me again that big PRs are possible. And I got lucky enough, I was living in Chicago at the time, that I got into the Chicago Marathon in October of 2023. So I was super pumped about that one, wanted to ride the wave of the big PR and shoot for another big PR in Chicago. So I trained consistently, managed to avoid injury, and a big way I did this is I did 0 speed work because to me the priority was to keep running. And actually Chicago was fantastic. So another huge PR, and that's when I got down to a 3:09. All right, so you've assessed your running history, you've thought about what you've done in the past. As I think to Chicago, I trained very consistently, but now I know I'm capable of more. I'm capable of more miles, and I know my body's now capable of adding in speed work. I finally stretch consistently. I'm able to, knock on wood, stay away from injuries a little bit more. And so I'm ready now to set the ambitious goal to qualify for Boston. And usually for a male in my age group, you need to be under 3 hours to qualify, but to actually run the race, the cutoff time was to be 5.5 minutes faster than your qualifying time. So I think this year might be even more competitive. I think it might need to be about 7 minutes faster. I'm just guessing. So I'm shooting for a 2:53, which would be about a 16-minute PR for me. So another big PR, but I know it's possible to get these big PRs with the proper increase in training. So that's my goal. I'm locked in on trying to get under 2:53. It might sound very ambitious, but what I found since I got injured is that I haven't been ambitious enough in my marathon goal setting, and I think that's actually held me back. As long as I'm recovering properly and stretching, I think it's important to set ambitious goals and really get what you're capable of.
And by the way, the goal of running 2:53, which is 630 miles, scares the shit out of me. I don't run 630 miles that often right now, but really hoping the training will get me there.
All right, so all of that was about finding your goal time. And now what's really important is, what is that goal race that you want to run? Because then you can sign up, make the commitment, and get ready to start training. So for me, I ran Chicago back in October. I knew I wanted some time off to kind of get some base miles in and get back on my feet. And then I wanted to make sure I had a longer training block this time. I wanted to do about an 18-week training block, specifically one that's similar to what I read through in the book Advanced Marathoning. And so as I was looking to select my race, I needed to find one that was in the spring. Now, what ended up being super helpful for me was a resource called findmymarathon.com. I'll put up on the screen some of the ways that you can filter through that website to find your next race. But it was super helpful because I knew, okay, 18 weeks, then I probably want to find a race around April. So I was looking for races in April. I was looking for things closer to my side of the country so I didn't have to travel too far. But I knew I wanted a fast course. I mean, to be honest, Chicago was super fast. It was flat, it was perfect weather. And if we're being honest, the marathon world record was broken by Kelvin Kiptum when I ran that race. So I know the conditions were good there. I want similar conditions again because that's when I've ran my best. So I certainly did not want to run Nashville again, which was hilly, and Nashville was also super hot. And so as I was looking at findmymarathon.com, not only can you find which cities and which dates the marathon is in, but you can find the total elevation gain. You can also see if the average low temperatures and the average high temperatures. And you can read comments from people, whether it's a well-organized marathon, if the local town around is fun. So that's a great resource to decide which race you want to run. And then once you do that, my biggest advice, just sign up now. Even though it's far away, sign up now. And it's so awesome to have a North Star that you're working toward and something that you can constantly be training toward, because that'll help you really stick to the marathon plan that you end up building.
So I realized after all that buildup, I never said which race I'm doing. So I'm running the Toledo Marathon. It's called the Glass City Marathon. Doing that at the end of April. So that ended up being a great race for me. It was the right timing. It's supposed to be flat, really good weather, similar to Chicago. And it's great because my girlfriend's able to do that race with me. So that'll be her first marathon. I have a buddy, maybe two, that are gonna run it with me as well. So it ended up being the perfect race.
All right, and speaking of that marathon plan, that's what I'm super excited to show you in this next video, is how I created my marathon plan that hopefully is gonna give me that Boston qualifying cutoff time that I'm shooting for of sub 2:53. So in that video, I'll share you the Google Sheet that I kind of adapted and created from someone else that they shared with me, but I'll share it with you all, make it completely free, and show you some of the main principles of building out a marathon plan that can help you either crush your marathon for the first time or achieve big PRs like I've been fortunate enough to do. I don't know everything, but happy to share what I've learned so far. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Super fun running content ahead. Hopefully I'll still explore some other genres. Super excited to be back to YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.